the other side. But in context, it was a good idea. One life meant walk, one life meant stop. If you have to, that principle will still apply 10,000 years from now if there are streets to be crossed. Now, a diversion before I talk about other difficult areas. The human being needs an instruction manual. This was an epiphany that occurred to me about 8 years ago, when I realized that every single VCR, video cassette recorder, you may not remember it, but it existed, but every VCR I ever bought, I did not learn how to use. I played VHS tapes, but I never recorded one at any time. They would blink forward until the motor died. I don't get a new one to blink forward. The only difference, some blinked in blue, some blinked in red, but they all blinked well the entire time. I know that. But I have learned Russian and Arabic. It's not that I don't know how to work. I still don't know how to program it. Be that as it may, what did I learn? I learned of the concept of instruction manual. That is that book that you throw away when you buy electronics. I started reading them even for portable CD players. Now everyone knows how to use a portable CD. You press the arrow, it means play. 2 vertical lines means pause, and a box means stop. There isn't much to learn, but in fact, if you read the instruction manual, there's a lot you can do with a little nothing CD player. And for that matter, what I really learned about were my cameras. I've been into photography since I'm a child, but now I read the instruction manual, and now I know how to use them properly. And then one day I had an epiphany. And my epiphany was, if by golly I can't even use a bloody flash attachment right without an instruction manual, how am I going to lead my life right without an instruction manual? And then it occurred to me, that's what the Torah is. Torah is that means instruction. It's translated as law incorrectly, it means instruction. In fact, in Hebrew, Torah, Moreh, and Torah are all the same root. Parent, teacher, and Torah are all the same root. It's an astonishingly important little etymological teaching. And so I realized, of course I need one. But in our secular age, people don't think they need an instruction manual other than the New York Times editorial page. They really don't think they need one. And I remember interviewing a Swedish woman. I take my listeners on my radio show from across the country on an annual cruise somewhere. And on one of those cruises, there were young men and women from all over Europe who were the staff. There was about a 28-year-old woman from Sweden on board, and while the men were flying the suspect, there was nothing except honest desire for an interview. I asked her if I could interview her. That was not a form of, would you like to see my sand collection? Because the Swedes have always fascinated me. They are the most radically secularized of Europe's countries. And so she said, fine. So I actually recorded it. I sent it out to those who subscribed to my lectures, and I put it on my radio show. I thought the interview was so important. And I began with them, the spirit told me she's a graduate student in Sweden, in the humanities. Do you believe that there's a God? Oh, no, of course not. Do you believe in any religion? No, of course not. And there was a chuckle in both. It was like asking somebody, a scientist, if they believe in alchemy. And so I asked her these questions. So then I said, so please tell me, where did you get your knowledge of right and wrong from? And she said, without missing a beat, my heart. And in effect, that is what the dilemma of the modern age is. The heart versus an instruction manual. Christians have an instruction manual, and that is the Old and New Testaments. Jews have one, or more, but it begins with the Torah. But the secular have none. Now you say, oh, that's not true. I have David Hume, and I have Voltaire. Well, please. I don't know anybody who, before they came to an opinion on abortion, or homosexuality, or capital punishment, said, what does David Hume have to say? Or what does the French Enlightenment have to say about it? People consult their heart. love so much of politics is emotion, because it's derived from the heart. I take the Torah so seriously that, in fact, I ask, what does the Torah say? What does it say? I want to know before I come to a conclusion. I don't trust Dennis's heart. That was one of the great teachings of my Torah. Don't go after your heart and after your eyes and after your heart, after which you prostitute yourself. It's translated after which you go astray, because the translators didn't like what the Torah said. It was a little too harsh for them. It's fascinating. They never translated correctly. They after which you go astray. The Hebrew was after which you prostitute yourself. Shut up there. Be that as it may, I don't rely on the human heart. The human heart, Nazis have hearts, communists have hearts, Islamic suicide terrorists have hearts. Everybody has hearts. The heart is the worst guide for goodness that I can think of. It would be better to have a list of values on a page and throw darts at it than to rely on your heart your whole life. I want to know where, that's my question, by the way, when I interview many of the people I interview, and they're very big. Left, right, center, where do you get your values from? It's a fascinating question to ask. Where do you get it from? Or you have the following position on X or Y or Z. Why? Where did it come from? Do you have, or is it just something we have felt strongly? So that is my case for the instruction manual. I teach the Torah. I have verse by verse at the Conservative Seminary, West Branch, here in Los Angeles, University of Judaism. What is it, 300 CE? Over 200. It's not an ad, so if you don't get it, I can't think why. But it's not an ad, but just to tell you what I have been doing, and 4 of the books are completed, and now my ultimate challenge, I'm beginning Leviticus next month, which is a real challenge. In fact, here's a good example. People say, what, the Torah? Is one of those bloody animal sacrifices? And I'll give you an answer. There are many answers, but I'll give you one. Again, it's the principle, not the act. I'm not aching to slaughter a turtle dove, to be perfectly honest. I don't go to bed every night thinking, oh, come on, slaughter the turtle dove. But rather, it gives me a very strong notion, and I'll tell you, I think some of you may not agree. But what it's taught me, and does teach me, is that animal life and human life are not equal. And let me tell you what is happening in the secular world, which gets its values from its heart and not from the Torah. There is an increasing confluence of value of human and animal. They are seen as identical. The largest animal rights group on earth is PETA, People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals. Their lead program 2 years ago was Holocaust on your plate. Check it on the internet. Check it. If it is not there, I should lose all credibility in your eyes. If it is there, it should lose all credibility in your eyes. Holocaust on your plate, meaning, and this is their view. I had Ingrid Newkirk on my show, and I had the divisor of the program, he was to say a Jew, a secular Jew, on my show. And this is the position. There is no moral difference between the barbecuing of chickens and the cremating of the Jews. None. It's not an anti-Semitic position. They would say the same thing about cremating Armenians or Uruguayans or Burmese. Humans are animals, and that's the secular position, and it is the secular position. You cannot argue for the superiority in worth of humans. I have asked high school and college kids for the last 30 years, if your pet and a stranger were drowning, which would you save first? Any of you who heard me 30 years ago know this. And thought I was nuts. People thought I was nuts, that I was exaggerating how bad it is. On this man, I saw the future. I knew it. In a secular age, they will not vote for the stranger, and they don't. What do they say? I love my pet. I do not love the stranger. I follow what? Love.